And welcome to the Friday edition of the Morning Pitt here on youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com. We made it to the end of the week, and that's good enough reason to like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You see the like button, right? It's down there somewhere. The subscribe button, we've got a special one right here, but I'm pretty sure YouTube has one as well. So you can either click the one that's right down here, or you can just click YouTube's subscribe button. Either way, it still accomplishes the same goal. It gets you subscribed to our YouTube channel, which doesn't cost anything, but to make sure you stay up to date on all the things we do here at youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com. We go live for our weekly live show on Wednesday nights at 8:30. You'll get a little notification. You turn on notifications, you'll get an alert about it. If we go live after a basketball game, like we did on Wednesday night, instead of doing our regular live show, we went live on Wednesday night after the Pitt-Duke game to talk about it. You can make sure you never miss that by clicking subscribe and turning on your notifications and getting your alerts sent right to your phone. So you always know every time we post a new Morning Pitt video, every time we go live, anything we do here at youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com, you won't miss any of it. So like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We really appreciate it. It's the end of the week, and obviously we've talked a lot this week about all the things going on with Pitt sports. But I wanted to mix it up today and kind of follow sort of something we did last week. Last week we had a conversation with Nick Patty. You see him on the screen right there. It was a great interview. Not because of me, but because of Nick. He was very candid. He was very honest. He was very insightful. He was smart. He was funny. It was just a great conversation. Hopefully you got a chance to check that out. If you didn't, go look at our YouTube page, youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com, and scroll down there, and you can find a conversation with Nick Patty. I think you're going to like it. I think it sheds a lot of light on what this past season was like for Nick, what this past season was like for Pitt football, and what Nick's career has been like. And I think you'll come out of it thinking pretty highly of Nick Patty, and you'll come out of it with a little bit more insight into his path and his journey maybe than you had going in. So go check that out. I highly recommend it. I don't think you'll be disappointed. And I wanted to do something similar this week. And so I was trying to think of who would be a good conversation topic, who would be a good person to talk to, a good Pitt player or Pitt person to have a conversation with. And almost immediately, the first name that came to mind was Tylar Wiltz. Tylar Wiltz, of course, came to Pitt as a transfer in the offseason from Missouri State, where he had played for 3 years. And the move to Pitt was really just the latest step on what's been a long journey. Young man from Breaux Bridge, Louisiana, ended up going to Division II Southern Arkansas out of high school, played 1 year there, went to Independence Community College, junior college for a year after that, and then went to Missouri State, where he played for 3 years and actually had not actually, like it's some kind of surprise, but he had a really good career. He was a two-time All-Missouri Valley Football Conference player. He was a third-team selection to the Phil Steele FCS All-America team last year, 2021. He had 106 tackles, 14.5 tackles for loss, 4 forced fumbles. He was really good. He had a really good career at Missouri State. Finished up his 5 seasons of eligibility, starting with that year at Southern Arkansas, and then that year at Independence Community College, and then his 3 years at Missouri State. And he went into the transfer portal looking for a home for his final season. And he ended up at Pitt. And I'll be honest, and I would say this to Tyler if he asked me, I didn't have high expectations for the FCS linebacker coming in. I thought, he'll be a decent depth piece. He'll be okay. And early in the season, it kind of looked like that's what he would be. Tylar Wiltz played 2 snaps on defense against West Virginia. He played 21 against Tennessee, 17 against Western Michigan, 21 against Rhode Island. Not getting a whole lot out of him. And that was just sort of, that seemed to be his fate. He would be a depth player behind Bengali Kamara and Solomon DeShields and the other linebackers that have been here for a few years. And then he started playing at a higher level, and he started turning it up. And he played, 30, 40, 50 snaps every game the rest of the way. By the end of the season, Tylar Wiltz was 4th on the team in total tackles with 50. He had 4 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, a forced fumble, a couple of pass breakups, and a huge interception in the Sun Bowl to help win that game. I think he might have had Pitt's first interception. It was on one of the tip pass interceptions. And ends up playing a key role for this team and making big plays for this team throughout the season and being a key part of the rotation at linebacker. He ended up playing in all 13 games, started 3 of them, including the bowl game and Duke game and the North Carolina game. but he was in the rotation as a key piece of the puzzle at linebacker pretty much after that first month or so of the season. But beyond even what he did on the field, the reason I wanted to get Tylar Wiltz in here for a conversation is every time we interviewed Tylar Wiltz, and this goes back to when I interviewed him in March when he first committed as a transfer from Pitt, or transfer to Pitt, excuse me, so about 10 months ago. From then, through interviews we did with him in training camp and throughout the season, I could never get over just the positive energy. And I think if you watched any of those interviews or listened or read any of those interviews from the last 10 months, you probably had the same impression. And I think when you watch this interview we have with him today, you're absolutely going to have this same impression. It's a common overused adjective, but it's infectious. His energy, his positive attitude, it's infectious. And I think you'll pick up on it. The guy has just a great attitude and a great energy about everything. And it was a lot of fun to talk to him, which I hoped it would be. And I think it ended up being even more fun than I imagined. So I hope you enjoy this conversation. Tylar Wiltz, a one-year player at Pitt at linebacker, but ended up being a really important piece of the linebacker room, of the defense, and I think the culture overall. So here he is, Pitt linebacker, graduating super senior, Tylar Wiltz. And Tyler, I'm really excited to have you here at the conclusion of your year at Pitt. I knew I wanted to catch up with you because it was always fun when we would interview you during the season and during training camp. And I remember, I think I got you on the phone back in March after you committed to Pitt. And I think I even remember from that conversation, I was like, this is one of the most positive guys I've talked to. And you kept that attitude all the way. Have you just always been this really positive guy? Always had a really positive outlook on things?
Not always. It took some time to grow, getting older, being in a lot of places, meeting a lot of different people. But your perspective, the way you look at things, it literally helps you get through tough times, good times. It always makes you a better person. It makes you a likable person, and something my people always tell me, when you're good to people, good things happen to you as well. So that's kind of what I live by.
Well, I mean, I want to talk to you about kind of this last season, but really, I mean, your journey, and like I say, I was kind of looking up the article I wrote back in March when you committed, and I think I was even sort of struck at that point, like this guy's been around, you know what I mean? Breaux Bridge High School,
Yeah.
and then you went to, where was it? Southern Arkansas, a D2 school. You went to a JUCO school, and then you went to Missouri State for like 3 years. FCS school, and you had a lot of success. You guys won a lot of games. You don't diminish the FCS level at all, but you spent 3 years there. Did you kind of feel like, well, this is it? This is the highest level I'm going to get to? Or did you always kind of still have that dream or hope of getting to FBS or a Power 5 school?
No, growing up, that's always anybody's dream. But the way things happen, like I'm a very God fearing man. I pray a lot, and my pops always tells me he's never gonna give you more than you can't handle. So that's one thing I lived by. And after that last season playing at Missouri State, I didn't feel like my journey for football was over. But I was like, why not bet on myself more? Just like I bet on myself at every other stage that I played at. So I did it, and I was blessed enough to, get in contact with Coach Narduzzi, Coach Bates, Coach Mann, like, the whole coaching staff. And it was like, okay, it felt like home, and it's the perfect place for me to keep doing, what I've been doing.
Well, it's kind of funny. I was going to ask you because I feel like a question I didn't ask you back, when you committed was how did Pitt find you? I mean, obviously you had a great career at Missouri State, but I mean, there's thousands of guys in the portal. You know what I mean? And you're at an FCS school. You're not, a linebacker coming out of Ohio State or someplace. I mean, it's a needle in a haystack situation. You were the needle, right? Like, how does Pitt find you at Missouri State and end up getting you up here?
I feel like it was one of those things that I ended up hitting the portal at the perfect time. You know what I mean? Because if you see it now, a lot of people are doing it, and I hope they all get out, find their homes. But at the same time, when I hit it, a lot of people were in spring ball. A lot of people were leaving. They were trying to find their way even after graduating. So when I did, I think it was Coach Graham who ended up calling me first, and the next person I spoke to, I think, was Coach Manilak and then Coach Bates. Well, the first coaching staff that I played under when I was at Missouri State was Coach Steck, yes sir, excuse me, and he ended up being real close with Coach Bates.
Hmm.
Yeah, it was a crazy story the way it happened.
What
So
they work together, or what was their connection?
I think they served together. If I'm being correct, I think
Really?
that's what it was, and then they were GAs together.
No
I don't want to
kidding.
get my story mixed up, but he called me and it was kind of weird because the first things like he asked me, we were conversating and then he was like, "How do you feel about Coach Steck?" And I've never ever had anything bad to say about him because he gave me that opportunity leaving from a junior college. You know what I mean? And he was always genuine. When I was messing up, he told me exactly what it was. So I have a different kind of love for him. And he was like, "Well, yeah." And he broke me down their history. And I was like, "This is insane." So I got a good word from him. And then same thing with Coach Bates. Never have anything bad to say about him. So their like journey ultimately helped fulfill my journey. And I'm forever grateful for that. You know what I mean?
That's a crazy connection. Do you know if Coach Steck reached out to Coach Bates and said, "Hey, you need to take a look at this guy" or anything like that?
I have no idea. But one thing I do know is as soon as I spoke to the Pitt coaching staff, I got a call like 10 minutes later, and then they offered. And then soon after that, they were like, "Okay, kind of keep it on the low." Because you know how Pitt is it's prestigious. Not anyone can just play on this team, on this defense, or Coach Narduzzi, this whole staff. And they told me kind of keep it on the down, like on the low. And I get on Twitter and Coach Steck had already tweeted it. Like he had tweeted, but he didn't tag nobody. So it's like I understood what's going on. I'm pretty sure Coach Bates and everybody else knew what was going on. But it
Mm,
was just so funny because of that connection. And that's literally a lifelong friendship they created. And they
yeah.
brought me to it knowing that if I ever need anything, I can call one of them or both of them and I know things will be good. You know what I mean?
That's crazy. I can't believe that connection. It is funny because you talk about keeping it quiet. Like I was looking at your Twitter to remember the exact date when you committed, and yeah, you never tweeted out that offer. You tweeted out UT Martin and Colorado State, Marshall, Louisiana Tech, UCF, Akron, all these schools. But you never had a Pitt offered tweet, and all of a sudden it was you just committed. So I guess you kept that pretty quiet up until the time. You get up here on the visit. What do you remember as far as your initial impressions of being in Pittsburgh and being around the program and what ultimately kind of sold you on it?
It was honestly the guys, man. It had a lot to do with the coaching staff, but I felt the love as soon as I walked in the locker room. Could you imagine never seeing somebody in your life and then one of the best linebackers in college football just literally walks up to you and your best friend, like Servatier Dennis, like I'm like, what? And then I go in the linebacker room and I can literally name everybody. It'll be crazy. I do not mind. I can talk about these guys all day. I have so much love for them, but everybody. It was literally the most fun that I've had in so long, especially going through that whole process of being re-recruited. And think about it, in high school, I wasn't highly recruited. And then the first day, I get a Power Five offer, literally coming off of the ACC championship, like ranked Pitt football team who literally excelled every year since who knows how long, like all the greats that come back here just to see how we're doing. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It was stunning. So it's like then the coaches on top of that keeping it real with me, telling me, "Yo, this is what your position is. You come here, you work your butt off. This is what you're gonna get." And like I said, at the end of the season, it all reflected, all came back, and it was all true. Like this journey was crazy, and I'm so grateful to end it here.
I'm kind of curious about, when you get to Pitt, you come in, you want to play, right? But you kind of, I forgot how, I think because you were playing so much at the end of the year, I kind of forgot that you didn't get a ton of snaps early, right? Like, I think you played 2 snaps on defense against West Virginia, maybe 20 against Tennessee, 17 Western Michigan. I mean, according to Pro Football Focus, you played like 21 snaps against Rhode Island. Now, it took off from there. You played 30, 40, 50 every game after that. But was it a little tough even in the beginning when you weren't getting on the field a lot? I mean, or were you still, what was kind of your mindset at that point?
It, one word, it was awful. It was bad, and that's honest. And coming from where I had come from, being an All American, finishing with 106 tackles season before, but it's always about trusting the process. Think about it. If I'd been angry coming out of high school, going to Division II school, it would have never drove me to becoming better. Then if I'd have done the same thing out of JUCO, playing with people who went to Cal Berkeley, like Coin Dang, he went to Cal Berkeley. Then Jermaine Johnson, who went to Georgia. Then he went to Florida State, where he excelled at both places, and now he's excelling for the New York Jets. So it's like I've always played with good people, above average people. You know what I mean? And then coming here, it was the same thing. I didn't like the situation I was in, but I'm not gonna pout.
Hmm.
Like I'm a man just like them. They'd been here before me. I had trouble learning the defense. You know what I mean? It's a lot of things that the coaching staff saw. They knew I could have been better, and they waited literally the perfect time to put me in so I can handle my business. You know, it was just trust in the process. Like I said, I didn't like it, but in the end, it all always works out. You pray about it, you keep your head down, you work, good things happen. Be where you're supposed to be when you're supposed to be there, doing what you're supposed to be doing, and good stuff happens.
I mean, was it a case where like, I mean, did Coach Manilak ever have to tell you, hey, Tyler, you need to improve your attitude or your work ethic? Or was it
It's
just a
never
matter of getting the defense down?
it was never an attitude thing. It was never an effort thing. Because one thing I will say, every time I'm out there, I'm handling my business. It may have not always looked the cleanest, but I'm putting everything forward that I can. Now, has he sat down and looked at film and said, "Hey, you're better than this. Do this better.
Hmm.
Hey, you're better than this. Do this better. Why are you messing up this? This is day one stuff." Yeah, of course. And like I said, it all got better.
Was how tough is this defense to learn? Maybe for any position, but particularly those outside linebacker spots.
I've played in a lot of different defenses, right? And if you actually watched and you know football, you know this season I played in two different linebacker spots.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I played a lot of snaps in both of them whenever it was all said and done. So it was the hardest defense I played in. I will say that it's one of the hardest defenses in the nation, and not anybody can do it. That's why they're very select, and that's why we have a smart group of people at every position, even on offense. Granted, people may have not liked how our offense looked or how they did. It's not easy. We have a group of great minds, you know, and that's kind of how Pitt is, and that's where it's going. That's why the culture is the way it is.
I always feel like in this defense, there's the field safety spot and there's the star linebacker. And for some reason, those two have always stood out to me as maybe being the toughest positions in this defense. Would you agree about that? Do you feel like the star is even tougher than the money? You know, as far as just because it seems like there's responsibilities to do everything, right? Blitz, cover, run. I mean, just do all of it. But would you agree that those are maybe the two toughest spots in this defense to master?
No doubt, and that's why I give a lot of love to Eric Hallett and Bengali Kamara, because it takes different kind of man to play that field safety spot, and it takes a different kind of man to play that star spot. Because like I said, you can't just be like, okay, I'm gonna cover this game. Not happening. You can't just be like, okay, I'm gonna hit this game. You gotta wake up with it that Saturday morning, no matter what time you play, and you gotta be like, okay, I got to be ready to read this tackle. This tackle makes a certain move. I got to be ready to go fit that box. If not, I got to be ready to cover this number 2 or number 3, depending on what we're playing. You know, I got to be ready for this back to swing. I'm getting a number 2 come and crack me. I got a back swing and I got to get out there. It's a lot you have to do. So it's like those, and think about it. Even he got better as the season went on. Eric Hallett is easily one of the best safeties in the ACC, if not college football, and that's my honest opinion. Nobody's gonna make me change that. So it's like it takes some bad men to do what we do. We've done, you know, and they're only getting better. So
Right. Well, you kind of said you could go through the whole linebacker room. I won't ask you to do that, but I am kind of curious. I mean, you worked with these guys all year. Obviously, you're moving on. Servassier is moving on. What do you see among some of those young who are going to be those next guys? And I know Bengali played a lot, Solomon played a lot, but I mean, what do you see out of some of those guys in that linebacker room heading into next season?
I see a lot. I honestly don't see them skipping a beat. Not one beat at all. And then you just bring in the people who really didn't play. Like think about it, Solomon DeShields, from wide receiver to linebacker, that don't happen. And if you think about it, the guys who've made plays in this last game against UCLA, excuse me, those are the guys. And we still missing Kyle Lewis, who didn't really get a snap with us. So think about that. We literally had big plays coming out of the linebacker room, like the whole game.
Mm-hmm.
I
Well,
feel like, sir.
I mean, I was going to say there was one old linebacker who made a play in that game. One older guy who had a pick, if I recall. Don't say it was just the younger guys making all the play. Yeah, Javon McIntyre had an interception, this guy or whatever. But I mean, you made a little bit. Was that, you know, as you think back on this season, if you were going to pick one play, I mean, is that the one that stands out to you, grabbing that pick in the bowl game, or is there another play that you're like, no, that was my moment, that was my big spot of the season?
Uh, I like the Miami game a lot. I really like that Miami game, and it may not be because one specific play. I feel like I had a great game, but I didn't know that would be the last time I would play with all the fellas. It's
Hmm.
more sentimental to me. And back to the other conversation, even that topic, I feel like Servassier Dennis, Kalijah Cansey, Deslin Alexander, all of those guys who didn't play with us in that last game, they prepared us for that UCLA game. And I'm an older guy saying this. Think about this. I'm 24 years old. They literally prepared us in every possible way that they could to make sure that, okay, we're not playing. You guys are going to be ready. And it showed. The whole season, they were always on us, and it showed. We wish we had those guys, but at the same time, they did everything in their power to make sure that we would be good.
I mean, you talk about the Miami game. I mean, we all on the outside talked about the history going into that game. Pitt hadn't won there since 2014. The last time they won there before that was 1963. So Pitt doesn't win at Miami very. I mean, you're new to Pittsburgh. You're new to Pitt. I mean, did you know that history? Did anybody tell you, hey man, Pitt doesn't win down there very much? Were you aware of that going into that game?
Coach Dews, he mentioned it a lot, especially being like that was that game that possibly I'm pretty sure stopped him from being in like the playoffs last season. So like maybe I don't want to be wrong, but like he mentioned it a lot. So he really had it out for this Miami team. So like practice was a lot different, and now that I know that, I'm like, I'm so grateful we won. That locker room speech before the game, it was something serious.
He was invoking last year's game and talking about how you guys owe him one, how Pitt owes Miami a little bit.
Yeah, he won it down bad. He won it down.
I'm curious. I mean, you've been in a lot of different locker rooms. You've been in a lot of different programs and cultures. How would you describe the culture? I mean, you've talked about it a little bit, your camaraderie with the other guys, but I mean, just the culture overall of the program, of the locker room, kind of what's been built here at Pitt.
So I'll say this as well. I've had to take on many different roles being in many different locker rooms, if that makes sense to you.
Mm-hmm.
Like this locker room, I can say I got to sit back and actually watch different ways to lead. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And from my experiences, the great football teams, leadership comes from inside of the locker room. How many football teams do you know go from having a 4-4 season to a 9-4 season? That's not really happening. And you know what the difference was between a lot of teams when they're in that situation and their back is against the wall? A lot of people point the finger. Right? You know what I mean? And like I said, I've taken on different roles. I was a leader at Missouri State. We had good seasons, as you said before. Here, our back is against the wall, and you would think that finger pointing was going on. It was never any finger pointing. You know, we did. We all the talking, Coach Dew said, look, this is all he had to say. Get off of social media. We got off of social media. We sat down. We talked about it. We knew what we needed to do. Our heads went down. We got to work. We trusted more in what the coaches were saying as far as this is what the game plan is. We focused more on the details, handled the details, and it all paid off. And that's really all we did. It was really nothing out of the ordinary that you would think.
Yeah, I was kind of curious what the vibe was like. I mean, it can't be good coming out of a 1-3 month. Nobody likes to lose that much, and to be sitting at 4-4, and then to turn it around like you guys did. I guess. I mean, would you say that's a testament to the players? I mean, to the leadership in that locker room. Is that what you would put it on?
For sure. And then you would think, as far as like a lot of coaches, I feel like panic too. Okay, well, what's going on? Now I got to fire this guy. Now I got to fire this guy. Now I got to find a new person to replace this position. Now I got to find a new place to fix this position. That's not what we did. We stuck to the plan. We knew what we needed to do. We just needed to lock in more. And we did exactly that.
Mm-hmm. It was funny, kind of going way back in history now. We just went back to November, but going back even further, as I was looking some stuff up earlier today before we talked, I found this interview you did in high school in like 2016, this video interview. And you're not nearly as much of a wordsmith back then, kind of quick, short, one sentence answers. But Somebody asked you about what makes you, the guy who was interviewing you asked you, what makes you so good on the field? This is when you were at Breaux Bridge High School in Louisiana. And he said, what makes you so good on the field? And you said, it's the love I have for the game. That's what you said back then. This is 6 years ago. I mean, I don't have any doubts that's true. I think it comes through how much you love the game, but how much did that help you as you went through Southern Arkansas, Independence Community College? You know what I mean? And even through Missouri State, or even earlier this season, when you're not playing as much as you want to. How much did you have to lean on that love of the game, and did it ever fade, or has it always just been one of the biggest things for you?
So that also goes back. I'm pretty sure, was that the interview I was kind of on the field and I had on the maroon jersey number 3?
Yeah, it was like after practice, is what it looked like. It looked like it was into your season, maybe late in the season or something like that. You guys were doing well, and you were the star player, I guess, the star linebacker, right? So you were getting the interview.
So you know when things are really tested like that, whenever times get hard and like I said, your back is against the wall and you don't know what to do. So also in that interview, I'm pretty sure I said I had dreams, of becoming a pharmacist, and school was always preached to me. So I'm a smart guy. I'm a very smart guy, and football is not my only way out, as it is for many people. So when times get hard, I could have literally been like, yeah, I don't need this. I'll quit. I'll just do school, get my degree, go work, make money that way, But at the end of the day, it's not really about the money. It was never really about, okay, let me find the easy way out. That's how I knew I loved the game. There's always been other paths for me to take, but I've just always been blessed enough for it to keep on happening for me. So my love's always grown, even if it's been bad. You know what I mean? There's always going to be hard times and things, but God gives his hardest battles to his toughest warriors. And that's kind of how I see it. Like, that's how it has to be. And with each battle, I've only gotten stronger. The love has only grown. Because think about this, as we said, I wasn't playing in the beginning. I could have easily been like, yeah, man, I'm going to just enjoy this. I'll start my master's here and get it over with and then whatever. But at the same time, I knew that I had goals to achieve. I'm going to give myself the best shot to continue playing. And I feel like even now, I love the game even more. Like I do, it's steadily growing. I literally just finished working out. I could not feel my legs. And you know what I did? I got up and I would run my sprints. I finished my sprints. I sat down in the locker room alone. I'm not even on the team technically anymore. Sat down in the locker room by myself, and I'm like, man. And guess what? I got up, came home. I'm cleaning my apartment. You know what I mean? I'm ready for tomorrow. It's another day to make a dream happen.
So are you still? I mean, I think I saw you graduated from Missouri State with a degree in biology, right? So are you still looking to be a pharmacist? Is that still the goal?
As of now, it's still something that I'm thinking about. I know for sure that I'm gonna get my master's, no doubt. I'm a big guy on separating myself from a lot of people. Not really a lot of people, but separating myself. You know what I mean? And it's always better to more knowledge. Knowledge is power. So that's something I want to do. And then after that, if I'm like, hey, go get my doctor, and I'll do that. And then by that time, if it's like, okay, I got my master's, why would I go get my doctor? Let me just go to pharmacy school. And that's just a problem for later. We taking it one step at a time.
Well, I mean, that's kind of my next question. I know you're back in Pittsburgh now. Like you said, you're working out. I mean, what's your process this spring? I mean, how are you approaching this spring? What are you hoping for this spring? I mean, what do you, I guess, work out at Pro Day? Is that kind of what your next step is here?
Yes, sir. Another blessing. That's all I can say. I'm waiting on more blessings, which is crazy because I actually got another one today. I didn't think you was gonna ask that. I just got an invite to the Tropical Bowl in Orlando.
Congratulations!
Thank you. So I'll be there, and then I'll come back, work here more, then go back home, maybe beginning middle of February, train a little more there with a speed coach, and then I'll come back and be ready for Pro Day. And like I said, I think I feel I think I have the talent, to at least make a team. If I get drafted, that's even bigger blessing. You know what I mean? And that's just showing me that God wants me there. But all I need is a chance. I mean, it's one of those things, just a chance, and from there we'll see.
Well, if you get into the interview process with the NFL teams, I'm sure you're going to kill it. You'll be a fan favorite if you end up on a team that ends up on Hard Knocks. Everybody will enjoy that for sure because, like I say, you're one of the most positive guys that have come across on this job, and it's been fun. Wish you would have been around at Pitt for a couple more years so we could keep doing interviews, you know. But that'll be great. But all right, well, Tyler, thanks so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Best of luck to you. Congratulations on a great season at Pitt, and we'll certainly be following your career wherever it takes you from here.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate you, as always.
Well, I used the word infectious before we started, and I have to think if you watched that interview, you would probably agree. Just such positive energy, and it's just such a lot of fun to talk to, and you know, and he's honest. It's not like he's always smiles. He's run into adversity. He's had a hard go at times, and think about his journey again. From a school in Louisiana, high school in Louisiana, ends up with a bunch of D2 offers, goes to Southern Arkansas for a year, goes to a junior college for a year, and ends up playing at FCS for 3 years before he finally gets his shot at a Power 5 school, at an FBS school, you know, let alone a Power 5 school coming off an ACC championship, like he said. And he makes the most of it. And it wasn't easy when he wasn't playing much in the month of September. I think he struggled, kind of like he said. But he kept working, and he worked harder. And eventually he worked his way on the field and became a big part of this defense and a big part of the success they had this season on defense. When we talk about guys that Pitt has gotten out of the transfer portal, whether for 1 year or more, I mean, Tylar Wiltz is top 10 at worst, right? You know, maybe even top 8 or so. We'll have to do another re-ranking after this year's transfers to see how they all sort of stack up. But I mean, he had a great season. Like I say, 4th on the team in tackles with 50 tackles. He had 4 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, and a huge interception in the Sun Bowl. You know, made a huge play in that game where every play was a big play. You win a game by 2 points. Every big play is a big play. And I should say every play is a big play, and Tylar Wiltz certainly had one that day in El Paso. So thanks to Tyler for joining us. I really enjoyed that. I thought I would. I hope you really enjoyed it. I thought you would. And hopefully that was the case. He's a guy who definitely deserves to have some fond memories of his time in Pittsburgh, and I think Pitt fans should have some fond memories of his time playing with the team. I thought that'd be a good way to end the week. Hopefully you enjoyed that conversation. We'll try and keep doing these, keep finding interesting people to talk to. I don't know if we're going to match the opening duo of Nick Patty and Tylar Wiltz. We might have set the bar a little too high there, but we'll see what we can dig up. Either way, thanks for watching these Morning Pitt videos this week. I really appreciate it. I hope you had a great week. Aside from the basketball game on Wednesday night, obviously a big one tomorrow at Georgia Tech. We'll see how Pitt bounces back from the loss to Duke and see if they can take care of business against a team that they should beat. We'll certainly have lots to talk about on Monday. But I hope you had a great week. I hope you have a great Friday and a great weekend. We will talk to you Monday morning for the Morning Pitt right here on youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com.